The series begins with the Squid game, named after a shape drawn on the ground that resembles a squid. The game is played between two opposing teams, attackers and defenders. The defenders can move freely on both legs, while the attackers must initially hop on one leg. If an attacker successfully enters the squid-shaped drawing, they are allowed to run on both legs and are referred to as the secret inspector. In the final stage, the attackers gather at the entrance of the squid shape, attempting to bypass the defenders. Their goal is to reach the squid's head and stand on it. If a defender manages to push an attacker out of the squid drawing, that attacker is eliminated and cannot re-enter the game. However, if an attacker reaches the squid's head and declares victory, they win, successfully defeating the defenders. This is the Squid game. We are then introduced to Seong, an unemployed and struggling man who lives with his mother, relying on her financial support. He is burdened with debt and unable to repay the loan he took, having spent the money irresponsibly. One day, desperate for cash, he tries to withdraw money from his mother's account using her bank card, but he fails. Frustrated, he keeps entering different PIN numbers until he finally remembers his daughter's birthday, which grants him access to some cash. With this money, he bets on a horse race, and for the first time in his life, he wins a significant amount. Excited, he tips the receptionist at the betting center. However, his joy is short-lived as a pickpocket steals his winnings. Meanwhile, he is also being pursued by creditors who eventually catch him. After confronting him, they force him to sign an agreement stating that if he does not repay his debt by the end of the month, they will be legally allowed to take an alternative form of payment. Broke once again, Seong returns to the receptionist and takes back the tip he had given her. He then attempts to win a prize for his daughter's birthday by playing a claw machine game, but luck is not on his side. Eventually, a young boy helps him, and he wins a prize only to discover that it is a lighter shaped like a toy gun. Despite this, his daughter is happy that he got her a gift. However, worried that she might accidentally hurt herself, he takes it away from her. He promises that next year he will get her a big gift. As he drops his daughter off at her mother and stepfather's house, she hesitates, seemingly wanting to tell him something but deciding against it. Seong then boards a train, missing his stop and having to wait for the next one. While waiting, a well-dressed man approaches him and invites him to play a game called the Deok-su game. The game involves two cardboard pieces, one placed on the ground while the other remains in the player's hand. The objective is to throw the handheld piece in such a way that it flips the one on the ground. If successful, the player wins. The man offers Seong 100,000 won for every win. Seong accepts but repeatedly fails. Since he has no money to pay for his losses, the man proposes an alternative. He can settle his debt by allowing the man to slap him. Seong continues playing, getting slapped each time he loses. Eventually, he manages to win one round, overjoyed at earning 100,000 won. The man then tells Seong that he can win much more money by participating in a special game. He reveals that he knows everything about Seong's financial struggles, including the fact that he is deeply in debt, owing 160 million won to private lenders and 225 million won to the bank. He also knows that Seong works as a part-time driver and that he has a 10-year-old daughter who lives with his ex-wife and her husband. The man hands Seong a card and tells him that if he wants to win millions, he should call the number on it. That night, Seong, feeling hopeful, buys dinner for himself and his mother. As they eat, his mother informs him that his ex-wife, her husband, and their daughter will be moving to the United States next year. Seong then realizes that his daughter had wanted to tell him this earlier but chose to remain silent. His mother encourages him to fight for custody of his daughter and to prove that he can financially support her. Unable to sleep that night, Seong contemplates his options before finally deciding to call the number. He is instructed to wait at a specific location. A car soon arrives and the driver asks for a password, which Seong provides. As soon as he enters the vehicle, sleeping gas fills the air, causing him to pass out just like the other unconscious passengers in the car, except for the driver, who is wearing a gas mask. When Seong wakes up, he finds himself in a large, wide space filled with many people. He is wearing a uniform like the others and has been assigned the number 456. In front of each person, there is a surveillance camera monitoring them, and all the participants are being observed by a group of unknown individuals. Seong stands up and notices a screen displaying the number of people present in the room. He realizes that he is the last participant to arrive. Among the group, there is an elderly man who has been assigned number 1. People ask Seong why someone of his age would be in such a place, and the old man explains that he has a medical condition and is nearing the end of his life, so he has nothing to lose by participating. Meanwhile, Seong hears a commotion where a thug is physically confronting the girl who previously took his money. The conflict stems from past disputes between them. Seong intervenes, demanding his money back after realizing she was the one who took it. Before their conversation can continue, masked individuals wearing uniforms with circular symbols on their faces enter the room. One of them, whose mask has a square symbol, begins addressing the participants. He explains that they will compete in 6 different games over 6 days, and whoever wins all 6 games will receive a large cash prize. He further states that their mobile phones and wallets will be returned once the game ends. However, the identities of the game organizers will remain hidden to maintain confidentiality. One of the players expresses disbelief and distrust. In response, the masked man informs them that they are all facing extreme financial struggles and have already been recorded playing the Deok-su game, where they willingly accepted money. At that moment, they trusted the man who gave them the money and voluntarily called his number to enter the game. He tells them they have the option to return to their difficult lives or continue playing. He further explains that the nature of the games will remain unknown to the players until they begin each one. Seong asks about the prize money, and it is revealed that the piggy bank above them will start filling with money after the first game. The participants will receive the winnings once the first game concludes. Everyone present is given the choice to either withdraw or sign a contract to participate. The contract consists of 3 clauses. Players cannot quit the game once it begins. Players who refuse to participate will be removed from the competition. The game will only end if the majority votes to terminate it. After all the participants sign the contract, they are taken to the player dormitory, where they are photographed. Meanwhile, the game leader watches everything through surveillance screens. Seong then spots Sang, his childhood friend, among the participants. Sang tries to talk to him, but Sang tells him he will explain later. They are soon led to the game hall, where they see a large doll standing at the far end of the hall with a red boundary line drawn on the ground in front of it. The game begins as the doll turns its head away and then suddenly looks back. The players must reach the finish line but must freeze whenever the doll turns its head toward them. They are allowed to run while the doll is facing away. The doll announces the signal phrase, red light, green light. The game starts and everyone begins running. However, when the doll turns its head and detects movement, the first player is eliminated. A sudden noise is heard, and the fallen player collapses to the ground. At first, no one understands what happened, but when another player approaches the fallen participant, they see he is no longer moving. Panic spreads among the players, and one of them starts running in fear. The doll, equipped with motion sensors, detects the movement and removes him from the game as well. Chaos erupts, and as many players attempt to flee, they are taken out one by one. Fear spreads as most of the participants try to escape. The game leader watches from his control room, monitoring the events. After the initial panic, the game continues. The first person to move after the chaos is the old man, and the remaining players cautiously continue playing. Seong stumbles and nearly falls, but he manages to balance himself. The players have a limited amount of time to cross the red line. As Seong rushes forward, he accidentally steps on someone's arm and is about to fall. Just before the doll can detect his movement, a man named Ali grabs him, preventing him from hitting the ground and being eliminated. They run together toward the finish line. When the timer runs out, all players who failed to reach the red line are removed from the game. It is revealed that the location of the game is an isolated island in the middle of the sea. The players who did not make it are taken away, and their presence in the game is erased. The surviving players are left in shock, horrified by the brutal reality of what they have witnessed. Soon, the masked workers enter the room, and the masked man informs them that out of the original 456 players, only 201 remain. A total of 255 players have been removed. The remaining participants begin to protest, demanding to leave the game. Tensions rise as everyone starts turning against the game organizers. The masked man reminds them of the contract, stating that players who refuse to participate will be eliminated. However, Sang interjects, pointing out that the third clause states that the games can end if the majority votes to stop playing. The masked man acknowledges this and allows the players to decide. Before voting begins, the masked man unveils the financial prize, showing that the piggy bank is filling with an enormous amount of money. The greed in the player's eyes becomes evident. The money represents the earnings of those who have already left the game, with each eliminated player contributing 100 million won to the pot. With 255 players gone, the piggy bank now contains 25.5 billion won. The masked man informs them that if they choose to leave, the prize money will be distributed to the families of those who are no longer in the game. However, if they continue, the final grand prize will be 45.6 billion won. He then instructs them to cast their votes using the buttons in front of them. The voting process begins, counting in reverse order from the highest number to the lowest. Seong is the first one to vote. The green button means continue, while the red button means withdraw. Seong presses the red button, and all the other players begin voting. Eventually, it comes down to the last vote, which belongs to player number 1, the old man. He votes to end the game, and with that, the game is officially over. The masked officer informs them that they will all be sent back home, but they still have the opportunity to return to the game if they wish. Later, all the players receive notifications about this while they are in different places. However, Peter is not seen, as he is tied up on the streets. The first thing Seong does after returning home is report what happened to the police. However, no one believes him, even though he has the game card and the phone number he called to join. The police officer dials the number, but a woman answers and angrily scolds him for calling so early. Meanwhile, outside the station, Seong is approached by a police officer named Hwang, who notices the game card in Seong's possession. Seong then goes home to find his mother, but she isn't there. He searches for her and eventually receives a call from the hospital. There he learns that she has diabetes, which has severely affected her legs. She needs urgent treatment, otherwise she may have to undergo an amputation. When she wakes up, she refuses to stay in the hospital, insisting that they don't have the money for treatment or even basic living expenses. She tells Seong that she must keep going, or their lives will fall apart even further. Seong assures her that he will find a way to get money for her treatment. Meanwhile, Officer Hwang is worried about his missing brother, who has not been seen for days. The landlady claims that he disappeared because he failed to pay rent. Hwang then goes to his brother's apartment and finds the same game card he saw earlier with Seong at the police station. Determined to investigate, he returns to the station and retrieves Seong's information, including his home address. It soon becomes clear that all the players' lives have been ruined by financial struggles. Ali, for example, desperately needs money. He gets into a fight with his former manager, who refuses to pay him his 6 months' salary. During their struggle, the manager's hand gets stuck in a machine, allowing Ali to take the money and run home to give it to his family. Meanwhile, Sang reassures his mother that he is doing well, telling her that he is on a business trip to America and won't return anytime soon due to work. His mother, believing him, proudly boasts about his success to everyone. However, her happiness is short-lived when police investigators arrive looking for Seong. He is accused of embezzlement, forgery, and other financial crimes. Realizing that her son has been lying to her, she is devastated to learn that he is a con artist. Feeling hopeless, Sang contemplates ending his life. However, just as he is about to go through with it, he hears a knock on the door. When he checks, he finds a game card slipped under his door, an invitation to rejoin the Squid Game, along with the date and location of the next meeting. Seong, in desperation, tries to borrow money for his mother's surgery but fails. While wandering through his neighborhood, he runs into the old man from the game. The old man tells Seong that he has decided to return because his real life is even more painful than the game itself. He regrets voting to end it. Game invitations are once again distributed to all the former players. Seong then goes to his ex-wife, hoping to borrow money for his mother's treatment. She refuses, telling him to leave before her husband arrives and causes trouble. Unfortunately, her husband returns home with their child at that very moment. She quickly tells him that Seong was just checking on their daughter and is about to leave. After Seong leaves, his ex-wife's husband follows him outside and hands him money, but with one condition: Seong must never visit or try to see his daughter again. Furious, Seong punches him for trying to keep him away from his daughter. His daughter witnesses the altercation, leaving her shaken. Later, Officer Hwang appears outside Seong's apartment, questioning him about the game card. He reveals that his missing brother had the same card before disappearing. However, Seong refuses to give him any information, believing that Hwang is incapable of helping anyone. Frustrated, Hwang leaves. When Seong enters his apartment, he finds yet another game card waiting for him. Meanwhile, all the former players, despite their earlier fears, decide to return to the game. They are taken to a designated meeting point. However, this time, Officer Hwang secretly follows them. He watches as Seong and the others board a vehicle. Among the players is Kang, the pickpocket, who manages to avoid inhaling the knockout gas inside the car. Hwang continues tailing the transport vehicles until they reach a port. Using his wit, he sneaks onto the ship by blending in with the sleeping participants. Once inside, he manages to overpower one of the masked game workers, take his uniform, and disguise himself as part of the game's staff. He carefully observes everything. Meanwhile, Kang wakes up and successfully keeps her hidden knife without it being confiscated. When the players awaken in the game hall, they find themselves back in their uniforms with assigned numbers. This time, 187 players have returned, and the prize money has increased to 26,900,000,000 won. Seong reunites with his friends, Sang and Ali, the man who saved him from elimination in the first game. Together, they decide to form a team. At the same time, the thug gathers his own group, ensuring they have strength in numbers for the upcoming challenges. After having lunch, they prepare for the night. However, player number 22 repeatedly asks to use the restroom. Eventually, the staff allows her and Kang accompanies her. Kang tries to open the ventilation hole using the knife she has and climbs in to explore the area. She carefully observes everything and later informs her teammates about what she saw. Moving cautiously, Kang notices workers melting sugar in the kitchen. She quickly returns to the bathroom before getting caught, then goes back to bed as if nothing happened. Sang overhears them talking. The next day arrives and Hwang, who spent the night in the room meant for the player he replaced, wakes up and joins the rest of the game's staff. Breakfast is served, but Sung refuses to take milk. They joke with an old man, saying he must have been disciplined a lot by his father as a child, just as he used to discipline his own son for disliking milk. They continue eating until the announcement of the second game. One of the players, number 111, secretly receives a message in his food, revealing details about the upcoming game. Sung follows Kang and tells her that he overheard her discussing something she saw the previous night. He offers to help her with his intelligence in exchange for information. She then tells him about the melted sugar. All the players enter the game hall where they see 4 gates, each with a different shape on it. The players must choose one of the 4 shapes and stand in front of their chosen gate. Sang quickly realizes that these shapes resemble the ones imprinted on traditional sugar candies from his childhood, but he keeps this information to himself. Instead, he convinces his team that they should each pick a different gate. He warns that if they all choose the same one and it turns out to be difficult, they could all be at risk. Believing Sang, each teammate picks a different gate. However, Kang hesitates watching Sang and ultimately chooses the same gate as him. The gates open and boxes are distributed among the players. Inside each box is a honeycomb candy with the same shape that was drawn on the gate outside. The game is explained. Each player must cut out the shape from the honeycomb using a needle. If the honeycomb breaks outside the designated shape, the player is eliminated. Sang, unfortunately, gets the most difficult shape, the umbrella. The first player to break their honeycomb incorrectly is immediately taken out, and the guards begin eliminating others who fail. Sung struggles to cut out his shape and becomes so nervous that his sweat drips onto the candy. He notices that the wet area starts to melt and realizes that using his tongue can make the candy fragile. He then begins licking the honeycomb, successfully extracting the umbrella shape. Meanwhile, the thug manages to complete his shape after player 212 secretly throws him a lighter she had hidden. He uses it to heat the needle, making the cutting process easier. Time runs out, and anyone who fails to extract their shape is eliminated. At the last moment, a desperate player grabs a guard's weapon and holds him at gunpoint, demanding that he remove his mask. When the mask comes off, the guard is revealed to be a young man. The player, unable to harm him, hesitates. However, the masked leader appears and eliminates the young guard. The players are then warned that anyone whose identity is revealed will be removed immediately. The remaining winners return to the dormitory and watch as the piggy bank fills with money from the 79 players who just lost. The total prize amount increases to 34.8 billion won. During mealtime, it becomes clear that the thug and player 212 have developed some kind of relationship. The food portions are very small, so the thug and his group take extra food, leaving others with less. Player 271, who is left without food, confronts the thug, but the thug attacks him violently. The player is unable to fight back and collapses. Sung, frustrated by the aggression, tells his team that they are supposed to be playing a game, not harming each other. However, all that seems to matter is that the number of players on the screen decreases while the prize money increases by 100 million won per loss. Meanwhile, Officer Hwang disguises himself as a high-ranking staff member and discovers a secret operation happening inside the facility. This scheme involves a player, number 111, who is a doctor and 2 game staff members. Seong and his team fear being attacked in their sleep, so they decide to stay awake all night. That night, the doctor, number 111, learns from his accomplices that the game leaders deliberately gave players less food to create conflict, causing the weaker ones to be eliminated before the next game. As soon as the lights go out, the thug is the first to strike, attacking a woman who had accused him of stealing extra food. He uses a broken bottle to stab her. Chaos erupts, and players begin turning against each other. The old man, terrified, stands up and begs the game leaders to stop the violence before they all end up wiped out. The leader then orders the staff to intervene and restore order. The number of deaths is verified. Officer Hwang, still disguised as a guard, approaches Seong and asks if he knows someone named Jun-ho, his missing brother. However, Seong replies that none of the players know each other's real names. After things calm down, Seong tells his team that they should at least learn each other's names since they are in this together. Everyone introduces themselves except for the old man, who struggles to recall his name. They reassure him that it doesn't matter at the moment. After cleaning up the area, it is revealed that the number of remaining players has dropped from 107 to just 80. The game staff finally gets their chance to rest. Seong's team remains alert, and the old man volunteers to stay awake and guard them. He tells them that he may not be able to help in the game, but the least he can do is sacrifice his sleep for them. The next morning, all players are woken up and instructed to gather in the game hall. It is announced that the third game will be a team challenge, with each team consisting of 10 players. Seong's team starts recruiting strong members to increase their chances of winning. Meanwhile, the thug deceives player 212 and excludes her from his team. He tells her that he might include her in the next round if she still wants to join. Frustrated, she feels betrayed and considers getting back at him, but instead leaves to find another team. Eventually, all players are divided into 8 groups of 10. The game is revealed to be a tug-of-war match, but with a dangerous twist. The teams must compete on a high platform, and losing means falling from the platform and being eliminated. Seong's team realizes they are at a disadvantage due to their lack of strong players. The first match is drawn randomly, and the thug's team is chosen to compete against a weaker team. They dominate the match, leading to their opponents being pulled off the platform. In the second round, Seong's team is selected to compete against a team of physically strong men. They begin to lose confidence except for the old man, who motivates them. He explains that tug-of-war isn't just about strength, and that if they follow his strategy, they can win. He insists that the leader must remain steady and not show hesitation. He teaches them a special stance to maximize their grip and balance. They follow his instructions, holding their ground for the first 10 seconds without pulling. As soon as the opposing team makes a mistake, they start pulling back with full force. Just when it seems they might secure victory, the opposing team regains control and starts pulling them forward. At the last second, Sang suggests a bold move when he gives the signal they must take 3 steps forward as if they are about to fall. They follow his command, moving forward suddenly. The game continues. In the next video, we will cover what happens next in the summary of the second part. Thanks for watching this recap. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to comment below and let me know which movie or series you want me to cover next.